Do you ever wonder what's happening outside of your four walls within your brand? If you're a home, garden or lifestyle brand, you are going to love this episode of T.E A Talks, as Con and I are going to share what we're seeing in the digital marketing and paid media landscape happening within this very sector. It's going to be fun, this one, and once again we're in the car. Let's get into it. So Con, here we are, back in the car for yet another edition of T.E A Talks. Becoming good fun, these.
We are.
Loving doing these in the car. I'm just so good at multitasking. I can drive and I can talk digital marketing and paid media. So for this one, what we wanted to do is have a chat about what we're seeing in the home, garden, lifestyle space. That is the only sector we operate in. We're seeing a lot of change.
We see a lot of
change. We have the benefit, being agency side, that we get to work with lots of different brands at different sizes, with different challenges, different growth trajectories. And I think there's a lot of value and benefit there that we can impart for our lovely T.E A Talk viewers and listeners. So kick us off then. What's one of the things that you're seeing, we're seeing, that's changing, that's happening within this specific sector? So when we think of our home, garden, lifestyle brands, what do we think?
Huge one, incredibly controversial.
Go on.
Massive changes to SEO.
Oh,
SEO is
but changing. I know what I'm gonna right. But are we even qualified to talk about SEO? Because doesn't the sign above the door say we're a paid media agency these days, or a paid media and creative agency? Does it not?
Well, glad you have asked. So both of us, obviously, we've started our careers in SEO, and both of us were those little nerdy lads.
Speak for yourself.
I was very nerdy, but yeah, just sort of chipping away, making sure that we are optimizing website on the technical level, then obviously bringing content into the mix, and just making sure that websites are being found in Google, ideally on the first page.
I mean, it's
done for years,
quite literally years and years and years. I mean, I've been doing SEO since 2007-ish.
Yeah, 2010 for me.
There you go. So we've been doing it for a long time. But what we are seeing, you're absolutely right, it's changing. Again, all of this is specifically within this sector, what we're seeing.
It is.
We are seeing massive shifts happening within SEO, specifically the brands within this space. We're seeing a lot of the doing being taken in-house, aren't we? We've had to make changes at Evergreen to adapt to that changing demand, that changing need in the market.
Exactly that, and that's because the entire digital landscape is changing so much. Because with different platforms, there is very little or less reliance on technical SEO, because it's not needed anymore. Mainly because the platforms that our brands are using are already geared up for it.
I remember back in the day, we wanted to do a tech audit for an e-commerce brand. It'd take you out for days. It would take you out for days. It was a lot of work, and crucially, you would be able to find some real wins, from doing some of the technical stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, it still plays a role, particularly as you get into enterprise level SEO, really big sites where marginal gains play a huge role. But for your standard, quote unquote, SME, e-com brand doing 5 to 10, mil a year kind of level, which is the brands that we for the most part work with. For those kind of size brands, the playing field to a large degree has been leveled, hasn't it?
It has been leveled.
It really has.
It has been, especially with one of the biggest platforms that really played a crucial role is Shopify.
Yeah, massively.
And they have, I think, they single-handedly, they have truly contributed to that huge shift in SEO.
No, they have, and I think it's because the tech has been leveled, simplified, call it you want, but it's no longer a thing. You don't. There are of course technical SEO experts out there. We can definitely hold our own. And there is still a role for that, particularly as you get into enterprise level SEO. But most brands, if they're on a good Shopify, stuff like that, then a lot of the basics are going to be going to be covered. And so we're seeing brands either rely on their developers in-house, or they're doing more of that in-house. And so whereas an SEO, a digital agency in years gone by would have that as an out, I mean, we've had for years that as an out and out role. We don't anymore because we don't need it.
No.
So I think we've seen that. The other things we're seeing, content,
huge
going in-house with AI. People are doing more and more of that, and we've seen that as well.
We've seen that as well, and I think the so AI, yes, but then the skill set is changing as well within teams. So people are more likely to take that AI generated whatever it is, and then they will just extrapolate it with the content they already have got, and they're just going to adapt it. And we are seeing that over and over again. And interestingly, and it possibly does pain me to a certain degree to say this, but we do see that this content is comparable in quality to a SEO written content.
Sometimes depends what you're feeding in. But yeah, no, we are seeing changes happening within home and garden brands, lifestyle brands, where they are doing more of the content. The execution is up for debate in terms of is it good enough or not, but we are seeing a shift in brands wanting to do more of themselves. And I think a part of it is cost saving. I think part of it is one. So it's meant ultimately that for us, SEO has morphed very kind of naturally over the last couple of years into becoming much more strategy-led, which in turn has led for us why we're now, our SEO services have morphed into digital strategy. And the reason for that is because the strategy part, the roadmap, what we need to do and how we need to do it, that's where an agency, this is the brands that we're working with, the prospects we're talking to, they go, we need to know what to do. We need to know how to do it. When it comes to the doing, we'll try and do that ourselves. Yeah. So more strategy, less doing.
Exactly, and it's quite a good way to go about this particular topic, because what we can do is we just give you the strategy and just say yes, you go, you implement it. So then we don't have to wait for sign-offs from financial saying that we finally have got some dev budget. So these changes can be implemented, because then brands can actually do it at their own leisure.
And I think it's something we're seeing, and we're not just seeing this with one or two brands.
No.
We are seeing this with a lot of brands. So if you're a brand, you're doing the same, or you're thinking the same, then just know that. And we're not advocating you do this, but we're just saying that this is what we are seeing when we look at our whole portfolio, which only consists of home garden lifestyle brands. This is what we're seeing across the board. It's why we've had to make changes at Evergreen in the last 12 months to team changes, structural changes, process changes, system changes, because we're having to adapt. You've got to innovate, or you'll evaporate. We're having to adapt our processes to meet the demands and to meet how the industry is changing, and to meet how the demands of brands are evolving to, reflect what's what. So, that's the SEO part.
Yeah.
I'll chuck one in now.
Go on.
Which is, we're seeing a lot more demand for creative.
Yes.
A lot more.
There is.
In part, that's going to be because we're now offering it, but it's kind of a chicken and egg, because we're offering it because the demand was there. The demand's there because we're offering it. So it's a bit of that. But I think brands are realizing, again, if I think of specifically our brands and the prospects we're talking to, I mean, we quite literally had one last week, a fantastic prospect that we're hoping to get over the line, fingers crossed. And again, a big part of the conversation with those guys was the creative.
Yes.
Because they were saying, look, we know the cost to acquire a customer is increasing, we know it's becoming harder to gain attention, therefore we need our creative to work so much harder. And we are doing way more creative and having way more conversations about creative content than we did 2 or 3 years ago.
And it's phenomenal to see as well, because now finally certain brands are seeing that actually to cut through the noise, they really need to stand head and shoulders above the competition. Otherwise, they just end up just producing very similar, very mediocre.
Everyone just does the same. It all becomes creative. A bit vanilla. It all becomes a bit, everyone's doing the same stuff. It's that need for creative, and I mean, we've done other T.E.A Talks. I've done some with Darren where we're all talking about creative and the different types of, not everything has to be polished and done to the nth degree. It can be a bit rough around the edges. You can short form content, long form content, UGC, so user generated content. Like, there's lots of different ways to skin a cat, as it were, and we're seeing way more demand and interest in having those conversations with the brands we're working with. It's much more, it used to be fairly low down the pecking order. It was always SEO this and Google Ads that. Now it's, right, let's talk creative. And really there's again a great way for brands to think about, and the conversation we're having is think market, message, media.
Yes.
It used to be the other way around. So it used to be very much, media first, whereas now, right, who's the market you're trying to get in front of? So who's your target customer? Then what's your message? Within the messages, what's the creative? So what are we gonna put in front of those people? What's the offer? What's the product or the service we're going to put in front of them? And crucially, what are we going to package it in? Is it going to be a video? Is it going to be motion graphics? How are we going to present that? And only once we've nailed that down, it then becomes right now, which is the best media platforms, channels to put that out on.
Exactly, and that brings us very nicely to the final point and final change. Really, is the fact that brands are very much, the demand has increased for specialist services like creative, obviously, but then we've got our paid media services as well. And because the service is so vast, it's a very specialist service. Brands try to take it in-house, but they do struggle with it, mainly because there is so many moving parts. There is a strategy element to it. There is so many changes that one needs to keep up with Google that it's just simply impossible for brand to be able to actually execute it properly. Obviously, the barrier to entry is lower thanks to AI through Performance Max and the other types of campaigns. But this is where
it's seemingly lower.
It's not.
Yes.
But this is where they recognise that they need that extra support and they need that specialist service.
No, exactly that, and it is, and that again is, and so everything we've done, because everything we're saying, we're reacting to that because we're seeing this happening within the home garden lifestyle space. We're talking to brands every single week. We're having so many of the same or very similar conversations of where the needs are, where the interest is, where the demand's coming from, how things are changing and evolving. And you're absolutely right. It's one of the reasons why, again, we're doubling down on the paid, the paid team, the paid department. We're bringing in real platform-specific experts, aren't we, that are very, very, very good at a very specific thing. And so again, we're seeing that demand from the brands that are coming to us saying, look, we're doing our Google ads, we've got an agency doing it that's a bit of a jack of all trades agency, or we're doing it in-house, and we just can't get that ROAS above a 2.5. We just can't get that ROAS above a 3. It doesn't matter what we do. We look at it and we go, well, it's because the creative's not very good, and also, it's not just a set and forget. Even though Performance Max wants it to just feed it and then leave it, you can't. If you want good results, you've got to have someone who really knows what they're doing. And again, the brands we're talking to, the reason we're talking to them is because they recognise they need specialist skills. One, to go to town on the creative, obviously, but secondly, to really make sure we're leveraging those accounts to get the maximum possible return from each of them. And that requires specialist expertise for the different platforms, doesn't it?
Exactly that. And I think that specialism is going to be something that we're going to be seeing more and more of. And I think this is why changes are happening, but obviously still staying in the space is going to keep us very much in the know.
So they're the big three then. So the first one, just to recap, the first one we are seeing with home garden lifestyle brands, we are seeing a big shift happening in SEO going in-house, and them requesting the strategy piece from agencies such as ourselves. So we provide it's more of a consultancy.
It is, yes.
We're seeing much more of a consultancy model and less of an agency model. That's just what we're seeing, and we've reacted to it, and it's an interesting development. We're seeing much more demand for creative, so if you're not getting more creative, just know that your competitors probably are. With their ads and so on, and then we're also seeing more diversification within paid media, and brands are recognizing that no, I need a real meta expert if I'm going to do meta better than the average, and I need a real Google ads expert if I'm going to do Google better than my next competitor. So those are the big three, probably the biggest three shifts we're seeing if we look at the last 12-24 months of what's happening. And we've obviously as an agency have made some wholesale changes to react to that. And I always liken it to a lot of big companies, big agencies are a bit like a sort of a juggernaut on the sea. It takes a long time to turn. We're a small agency, we're very nimble. We're like a speedboat. We can change direction, we can speed up, we can slow down, we're quite nimble. And I like that. It's one of the reasons why I always want to keep Evergreen as a small agency, because we're very agile, and it means we can adjust to the demand. So that's what we're seeing. Have we got any others? Should we chuck in a Brucey bonus, as we love to do?
On spot there.
I've got one if you haven't. I didn't tell you I was going to do that. Right, but I wanted to get in our little Brucey bonus, which is video. We are seeing video. Darren's also going to be happy. Darren, you're welcome. But we absolutely are. We are seeing, because brands, I think, that, again, home garden lifestyle brands, I have tried to get our brands to do video for years.
Yes.
In their ads, I have said to them, look, video would be amazing for this. Why can't we run a little retargeting YouTube campaign? Can we animate some of the graphics? Now, admittedly, we couldn't do it. I always had to say to them, look, Evergreen can't do it. You can go over to, but I know other agencies, I can introduce people. And I think that was a barrier to entry because they were like, it's just going to be a headache, I don't want to do it. Maybe it's coincidental that since we can now provide the service, we're getting the interest. Maybe that is the reality of it. But we are seeing so much more interest and willingness to do it. When brands are much more in this exact sector willing to have the conversation and up for signing stuff off and going, yeah, do you know what? Let's do it. Let's create a series of videos. You know, how many video shoots have we done in the last 6 months? So many more where we're having the conversation and they're going, actually, yeah, because brands are recognizing I do need to up my game. Again, it feeds into that creative. I do want to do things I've not done before. I do want to capture and show the behind the scenes, that kind of raw, unedited, day in the life type stuff of my brand. I do want to, and we've got clients where we're doing the deliveries of the product, you know, to clients, and all sorts of really creative, weird and wonderful stuff. Not everything is just showroom polished, but that mix of video, we are seeing that. And so I think, again, if you're, and some of it, you know, you can just do on your phone, you can have, you know, you don't have to have an agency such as ourselves to do it, but there's definitely more of a willingness to actually do it. And I think brands are realizing they just need to kind of suck it up and do it and stop putting it off, because the barrier to entry for video is so much lower than it was that they're kind of going, we kind of just need to get cracking with this and actually just do it.
It just makes sense.
So there you go. That's the fourth one for you. So SEO is now becoming digital strategy. Creative is way more top of mind for a lot of brands, so it should be for you as well. And paid media, it's about having disciplined experts per channel and per platform. And then the fourth one, the Brucey bonus, is video. Stop procrastinating on it, get and do it. Right, hope you've enjoyed this T Talk. We are flying around this motorway, which is fantastic, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Bye for now.